Hello everybody. Today I wanted to show you a map that I made called Mountainous Madness, as well as a city that I built upon it. So without further ado, let's take a look at it. So, here it is. Give it a moment to load. So this particular map, while this is loading, this particular map is inspired by the landscape of Norway. We recently went over to Norway this past summer. Well, it was autumn really. And I was inspired by how every city, every township that we went through seemed to be carved out of almost solid rock. Just, magnificent, just granite formations everywhere, and yet everyone seemed to still do very well for themselves. Specifically, I visited a town called Egersund. So that's where I based this map upon. As you can see here, we have some nice water features. We also have you can see here that the start of the map is actually right here at the mouth of the river. You have a fairly easy time starting. You have a road here, as well as a nice rail connection. The rail connection is difficult to use, but it's still there for your use. Over here, we have an old abandoned lighthouse, an old shipwreck, and some other monuments of the time. But what I'm particularly proud of is the headwaters for this river. Take a look over here. Got some interesting fish to spawn here, so if you wanted to launch a fishing community here, you certainly could. But look at those rocks. Good God, those rocks. Right here at the top, a nice little castle just to kind of crown things off. I honestly don't know how anyone would have come up here to build something like this, but there you have it. A nice little plateau. So this is for your later stage development when you've started to actually get things going. So conceivably you could use this to build more farmland, build an airport. And as you can see, it's nice and flat over here as well until you start to get down to the other side. And just look at this terrain. Now I've pockmarked this terrain to really represent what Norway looked like, at least from my eyes. You'll see here some alluvial fan formation here, as well as a nice little creek and river flowing down into what could be the other side of the peninsula, or perhaps into another fjord, but we have just some water feature over here. Some more forest land over here. Now, so when I designed this map, I designed it to where a good chunk of resources are available, but outside of the buildable land. So I mean, look at this. Buildable land over here, all your resources in flat land over here. And even still, it's not very flat when you take a look at it. It's still quite mountainous. Here's fairly flat. I didn't do much of anything over here, just kind of put some trees around here. But if you take a look at this from a close-up, it looks like the Cliffs of Insanity. If anyone's ever seen Princess Bride, that's what I was referencing here. So we got a nice little castle right here, remnants thereof, and more crazy craggy land over here. Now I just went wild with the tool, with the texture tool here. I just had a grand old time. These lakes here are naturally forming, with a small water source in there. And if we take a look very closely, though, we might see, I mean, just look at that. Just look at that landscape. We might even see another waterfall. Oh, maybe I didn't put one over here. Okay. Well, anyhow, we have another couple of lakes over here. Now this one is continuously filled, but this one I actually made almost kind of by accident, because what I did is I increased the water source over here, spilled over through this crevasse, and filled this lake, and it just never went away. I was thinking about terraforming this and bringing it back up, but I'm fine with it being there, to be honest. No skin off my teeth. Again, back over to the river. So you got some forest land over here that you can also utilize. We have some mineral resources as well. Gobs of farmland over on this side. And then a highway all throughout the map. So this actually has three rail connections in all three directions, as well as a fully established highway going north and south through the map, and then well, I guess eastbound over here, or whatever you want to call the direction. It doesn't really matter. This particular highway was very challenging to build because I didn't want to do too much terraforming in order to get the highway through. I wanted to make it like something that you would see a typical road engineer build. I mean, maybe this isn't very typical. I don't know. I'm not a road engineer. But as you can see, it does have a few bridge passes to get you up and over this ridge here. Bridge to cross over the river. And you'll notice I left this as sort of a causeway here. Now, the reason I did that is because this is all technically a floodplain, and you really don't want to have your roads going over that. Over here, the elevation is high enough to where it doesn't flood as easy. You can see there's probably a good 10-15 meters distance. It could theoretically flood if you were to build a dam upstream and then destroy it, but you'd probably deal with a whole lot more. So take it back out. Over here you have your principal interchange. Again, kind of far off from the map, but it's still here for later on in play. But as you can see, when you buy this poor parcel of land here, not a whole lot to build with. It's kind of my big fuck you to anyone that tries to build cities on perfectly flat land. Because let's be real, nobody does that. And just look at that highway. Gnarly. This took me probably a good 3 hours to build, just to build it and get it actually set up in there. Now this of course is quite. I mean, it's quite kludgy when you think about it, but it's in place and it functions. It pushes the steepness of the roads to virtually the maximum. Now we got another overpass here, overpassing another crevasse, another bridge, and it continues up and over and out of the map. Now again, as a big FU, none of this lovely land over here is buildable. None of it. The last bit of buildable land where you could maybe build an intersection is right here. Over here, you're screwed. So this was me just having fun, absolutely, just horsing around. Really, this is my first map I've ever made. So I actually built this map partially as a bit of a middle finger to my friend who always would terraform everything he has, make perfect grids everywhere, and then say, look at how perfect my city is. I was like, yeah, that's not real world. Real world landscape is messy. Try this on for size. He's actually had some pretty big challenges with it, so that's the highlights of this. So you do have a railroad going north over here, but again, it's all out of play because of how the landscape is. But you do have cardinal correct connections to all three directions, and hypothetically, you could build. You could open this map up and build additional north-south connections to connect over to that direction, but that's entirely up to you. One last thing. Over here we have yet another river. So I designed this map with the intention that you could use it for, you could use ferries a lot with it. Like right here we got some nice lake-like features here. Over here, another section of river you could theoretically impound if you wanted to build a dam. As you can see, we have nice flowing features here. Let's take a look at the town as I have it built. So we'll go ahead and add it here. Let's see, we'll quit to the main menu. The computer is being pushed to the max by this game here, so go ahead and close that. We got it. Continue the game. And so the town that I built here, I decided to call it Eggleston. It's not a true representation of the town, but it has some mountainous features to it. It's a little bit more Nordic, a little bit more European in design. You'll find that there's a little bit more of a heavy emphasis on public transportation and such. Okay, let's see if it'll load up. And here it is. We'll go ahead and take a tour. So we have two different banks. We have the south bank over here, north bank over here, and this is the Eggleston River, and it comes down from our impounded lake over here. So I constructed a dam over here. It's a 250 megawatt dam. Also a small settlement of people that want to, if they want to live off here detached from the rest of society. But as you can see, I've not done a whole lot of terraforming to it, because to terraform this kind of a map, well, that gets really expensive. We have highways all over the place, roads all over the place, but you'll see that they conform to the contours of the land, with these exceptions. Now in these places here, I had some kind of a switchback going. But digging through solid rock just isn't an option. So what we did is tunneled it through. So as you can see, it switches in, out, and then it does a final switch back through the mountain, exiting over here. Oh, we don't want that. We'll turn that off. So it goes up through the mountain and around she comes. Got a small industrial district over here. Because this land was fairly flat and easy to work with, I decided to leave it with a grid pattern. We'll move this for now. So we have an industrial district over here. I used natural power for this entire city. Renewable resources only, principally because I don't want to pollute the city with coal ash and other crap like that. Causes severe impacts to health. So here we have our one of three connections to the highway. I just went with a simple diamond exchange because you can make it fairly compact and it'll fit into that profile there. We got one lane of direction going on over here. A couple toll booths just so I can collect a little bit of revenue on the highway going in and out of town. The only thing is, because this highway is connected in all three directions, you actually get a fair amount of traffic on it, even when you first start the game. So it's just something you're going to have to deal with. It's all flow-through traffic, like what you would typically expect in your average city. We have a few interchanges. Have this one here at the Hancock Bridge. It dives down over here into this Highland district here. You'll need to use a lot of different bridges, and you can see here I've done that. That's kind of ugly actually, looking at that, but something to fix later. Because the terrain is so craggy and so up and down, you're just going to have to use strategic overpasses and bridges all over the place. And you'll see here in this next interchange, that's what I've done. So we have this street here, I called it Eggleston Street. I have a couple of conventional, one off-ramp, one on-ramp going back north. But then you can see it's asymmetric. The next one, I couldn't actually, I couldn't actually fit anything here, so what I did is I built an underpass going off into this boulevard right here. I've made it a little wider so that you can fit some additional queue of cars. But so really, these two ramps have to be connected by the street, because if you take a look at the land, there's really not a whole lot to work with here. Not to mention the fact that this street, in order to get from that ledge over to here, you got to bridge it down. So that's what we've done. So the traffic is, well, not great. We have some bus bunching going on here, but you know. You've developed an extensive ferry system. There's 3 ferry routes, so we have a ferry terminal. We have a ferry stop here. I think it's over here. Ferry stop here, here, and then 2 over here. One right here on this coast, one over here, and then we have a central ferry plaza here, where we can connect a few additional bus lines, and that's exactly what I've done. So we have a cross-river ferry that goes between these two stops and this ferry terminal. It's sort of a triangle, so we go from here, here, and then across the river over here. This way, the central ferry, or the central train station, has direct access to the downtown area within a few minutes ferry ride. Of course, this isn't really a central station, but we'll just, it's as close to the central as you can get, because you can't really build a station over here. The closest you can get is this station, which I've built over here in the Prospect District. I just called it Highland Station, for lack of a better term. Of course, really now that originally this was the first station that was built, because I didn't actually own the land when I went to build the train station, so this would really be the main station over here now. So let's see what other highlights do we have. We have one more, and we have 2 more overcrossings here. This one's fairly vanilla. It's got a considerable amount of traffic because all these freight trucks are trying to get to the ferry, or the freight terminal. As you can see, I've doubled up the lanes here, but they still, still have a hard time. Then we go up to this monstrosity here. So trying to get this road connected to this highway was absolutely a monumental effort. And if we take a look here, you'll see just the elevation that it has to go through. From here to here, it has to climb upwards of, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 meters. So I've created a number of loops and switchbacks so that it can actually make that elevation in a fairly compact profile. Of course, that means I lose most of this land that's here, but it's not really buildable anyway because it's just very hilly. Of course, the off-ramp is absolutely adorable. Same too over here. So to get onto the freeway, you have to go through switchback, which, again, more tunnels. If we take a look here, get onto the road, loop around, and then all the way back down onto the highway. Again, those are steep tunnels going through there, but it does work. There's some mineable area over here, so I've set up a small mining encampment, connected it with a highway, just a simple 2-lane highway, because I don't think the traffic's going to be so bad. And there's also additional mining resources over here, also connected with a highway. This is where probably half of the freight trucks come from. So, I mean, over here, most of this is just used by freight. But, yeah. Some highland houses here, up here on the top. I mean, good lord, just look at that house, huh? What a view. But then again, I would not want to live there, because especially here in California, we live in earthquake country. That would just not do so well. I mean, it might. I don't know. Over here we have one more mountain. And again, with these incredible switchbacks. So I've actually tunneled into the mountain for each switchback. It's one big spiral road. So switchbacks a couple of times, and then spiral, spiral, and all the way to the top. Now I did this because I didn't want to have roads running all the way around the mountain. And furthermore, I didn't have any mountain around here to work with. To try to do a switchback right here, to have this come up here, turn around right here, believe it or not, that small U-turn right there, that hairpin turn, would produce a road so steep that the game just couldn't handle it. And in fact, I mean, if you take a look at the grade of this mountain, it is very steep. You're talking about a grade of 60%, really. The road grade on the switchbacks, still fairly steep. You're talking a 30% grade easily, maybe 35 even. So that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.